Hello, this is the first of a series of YouTube videos on the topic of ABS engraving plastic. I was put onto this by Chris Pigg, a printmaker in the UK, who began using it as a substitute for the very expensive end-grain boxwood blocks that were normally used for wood engraving. Um, it's an interesting material. I want to go over its characteristics and uh, uses, the tools that are needed with it, because while it is a relief printing material, it is very different from Linocut. I'm going to begin by saying that it does share some things with Linocut. For me, it has many of the same attractions, but it's definitely not Linocut, although some prints could be made to look very much like Linocut prints. It is also very different from copperplate engraving that is normally printed intaglio. This is relief printing, so it will print with the typical low pressure requirements of Linocut. Now, let's look at it. This is ABS plastic, engraving plastic. It's normally made for engraving signs. It's pretty tough. It will crack or shatter if you drop it from a height. What's nice about it for our purpose is it does have a very thin color layer on top, and you can get this in various colors, but I found green to work well, and the white core. So you cut, as you do with Linocut, when you cut, you're cut to white. So this is very, very helpful. It is only 1/20th of an inch thick, very thin. You can get larger sizes, but without the color layer on top. I have also tried to use 12 by 16, but this is 8 by 12, and it is my standard size, and it's very easy to come by on Amazon or Temu. It's quite cheap. Now, this carves with engravers tools, not Linocut tools. They will not work. Some of the tools: flat gravers. This is a graver that has a very, very sharp end, and it is flat across the front. It will raise a flat cut. Comes in various widths. All the way down to some very small. Now, this is a round graver. You can see that the tip is rounded. I don't use this very much, but I think if I used it more, I'd probably make better use of it. Next, one of the very valuable tools is the square burin. The end of this is literally a square or a diamond shaped. The bottom point of the diamond, very sharp, is what cuts. So these can make very fine lines. They come in various sizes and widths. Their characteristic is that if you use a true square burin, the line is as wide as it is deep. This is a similar tool with a triangular face, and it was also very versatile and will cut a variety of depths. But in this case, the deeper you cut, the wider it gets. It starts off a little narrower than it is deep. You then get to, I think some people call this an angle tint. It's almost a blade-like tool. And it makes, again, fairly fine lines. I don't use that very much. Now, there are also multi-liner tools available. Some of them in this other style tool. Multi-liner tools make parallel lines. very fine parallel lines. This is called a halftone rake. It was used by engravers to do, just as the name says, halftones. So by dragging it through the material, you get parallel lines. This one has two sizes in one tool. The end I just did is 45 lines per inch. It also has, on the other end, a 65 line per inch end. Now 65 lines per inch is getting very small, and it can be difficult to ink. Those very fine lines can tend to be blocked by ink, but it's called a half tone tool because you can cut your and I'm not doing it very well, but you can cut your lines, and then you can come back across to do a fairly traditional halftone. You can do the diamond type halftone. So this is the kind of tool you use if you like to do your shading with fine lines or halftone lines. It's been an adjustment learning to use these after having been accustomed mostly to line cut tools. One thing about these, a good line cut tool does not have to be sharpened. Very rarely does a good line cut tool from Fail, somebody like that, have to be sharpened. These tools, because the materials are hard, will from time to time need to be sharpened, and that's a skill to learn. Need the right stones and some practice to do it. My other tool is this. It's simply a rechargeable rotary tool. Now, this I find very useful because with this material, which is so hard, it takes a long time to clear a broad area. And it takes a long time to cut it very deep. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, this tool can do various effects depending on the speed and which bit you choose. I find it perfect for doing something that's very difficult to do in line cut, which is to do the kind of texture that looks realistic with for a rock face, a rock wall, or a gravel street, something of that sort. This tool will cut across this material inside the border of, say, a stone and a wall. And it leaves it looking very much printing, very much like you would expect a stone to print. That's very hard to do in lino, because in lino you tend to get straight lines and clean cuts. You can use this roughly in many ways, and it's turned out to be extremely valuable for me. Now, the hand tools, the halftone rakes and such, in the U.S. you get these from E.C. Lyons, Lyons. Very nice people, very responsive, very easy to work with. I don't know there's much other source for engraving tools in the United States. Now, since it's only 1/20th of an inch thick, broad areas that you have cut down to white are so close to the top surface that it's almost impossible to ink the plate without inking part of the background, getting a lot of chatter in the background. It's just too close. Sometimes a little chatter is not bad, but it's difficult to control with this material. So my solution to that was an ultrasonic cutter. Now, an ultrasonic cutter has a blade with extremely high frequency vibration that cuts through most materials quite readily. Once I got this, I began using it a lot. In this plate, I cut out most of the broad areas. I can get away with narrow white areas, but if it gets very wide, the brayer wants to drop in there and ink the cut background. By cutting this away, that's not a problem. I ink it up on newsprint. Anything that would be chatter ends up on the newsprint and never makes it to the press. So when this one is printed, it looks like this. You can see there's a little chatter left I left some of that chatter in the arms and some other places because it adds interest. Sometimes a little chatter is better than just having a perfectly clean, broad white area. So I don't use the rotary file as rigorously as I could to remove every bit of cut area. I do have to use it, once I've used the ultrasonic cutter to cut the opening, I do have to go to the rotary file to bevel the inside edge of that cut. The ultrasonic cutter runs hot. It tends to raise a bead as it cuts through the plastic. And that bead will print as an unseemly black line when you ink it and print it. So it's easy enough to go through it here and just bevel gently around. But I can always go back and I can cut other areas deeper, cut more out, whatever I want to do. Now, these tools are like good lino tools. They're not cheap. They're in that same price class as fail lino cut tools. But as I have found, and most people have found, the best bargain is the best tool. So I buy from Lions. I don't really know another source. I might be able to get some Chinese, but they would be poor steel. And in this case, with these tools, steel really matters because you're cutting a hard material. You can engrave copper plate with these too. So it's not like you're limiting yourself. And if you want to try copper plate engraving, buy these tools and do it. Now, in later videos, I'm going to demonstrate the ultrasonic cutter because it's been so valuable to me. I'm going to demonstrate the various uses of the rotary tool with the conical files and show you some more blocks and some more prints and talk you through some of the issues with each, because there are plenty of issues that can come up. But this material is capable of producing some wonderful visual effects that I frankly don't think I could do in the lino cut. In fact, it has kind of largely has guided my style, and it seemed to mesh very well with a style that I like. I really want to express gratitude to Chris Pigg, a very experienced printmaker over in UK at Black Pig Printmaking Studios. He has a YouTube channel too under Chris Pigg and a website under Black Pig Printmaking Studio. He does some wonderful work. He does both this kind of engraving, wood engraving, and lino cut, and has wonderful discussions, mostly having to do with relief printing. And he's vastly experienced. He has worked in Barcelona and other places in Europe before setting up in England, in the Midlands. And I highly recommend visiting his YouTube channel and his website. So, next time we'll go a little bit deeper into ABS. I think it's well worth trying. It has worked wonderfully for me. I've been very, very pleased with some of the prints that have come out of it.